Hello again, Steve here, and just when we think there's enough been said on motivation, I'll give my 2 cents worth, I guess. So motivation, the word comes from, in its etymology, move. It's sort of along the lines of what it is that moves us. Motivation is something that feels very powerful. It's almost like we can't even help ourselves. We're just driven now, because it seems like there's something moving us. And I would say that what might help us with that is trying to identify, or just being aware, listening to our better sense, if you will, for what it is that is like a worthy objective for us. Sort of something that's come from within. I know I brought him up a few times here, but I'm kind of an admirer of the zest for life in a very, very unique way that Keith Richards displays. I mean, the guy was, most people would agree, and probably he would as well, that he had many, many flaws, drug addictions and so on throughout the years. But in spite of being just completely blown out on drugs so much of the time, he was an amazingly hard worker. I mean, he would work literally for days on end without sleeping, and then eventually collapse. But he'd be editing his tapes and doing retakes and trying to get a proper riff, and for hours at a time, night and day. He'd see people get up and go back to bed and so on. And one of the things he had, though, was this extreme love of music and didn't want to do anything else. Just a beautiful, beautiful expression of love for an activity. But you see, I think most of us have been caught in this trap of, oh, I want that over there, so I'm going to do what I don't really want to do for the reason that I want to gain something else. Whereas somebody like Richards, he didn't want to gain anything else. I mean, or maybe he did, but primary was the love of what he was actually doing. So because there was so much love for that, he was almost carried along. And at times he even talked about how he wrote a song when he was completely blanked out. So even when he was blanked out, he was still driven. It's this move. People say, I was moved to this, I was moved. It's like there's an inner force that moves us. And I think motivation we really love, and we've all probably experienced this. I know I have a few times when there's that doing something, it's usually a hobby or something like that. Don't want to quit. The sun's down already, and it's still going, and thinking about it all evening and dreaming about it going to bed, get up in the morning, eager to get back, there's a drive. And that is the love of something, and it's motivating, I think. And if we have something that's really worthwhile, it's deep down inside of us, like some sort of a perhaps a cause, or just even if it's not a cause that's fix something or whatever, it's just the love of it. I think that would be really important. And so I guess for us, it's important to be aware of what it is that caused that spark once in a while that goes off. What are we actually doing? What activity are we doing? And to me, anyways, it helps to actually get involved in certain activities to test them out, because motivation is found, I think, in the doing of things. Because once one's on a roll of enjoyment, then there's the motivation is recognized, consciously recognized, and can be piggybacked on, if you will, towards our successes and so on. But the problem with that, I think, is always if we transpose why we're doing it from the love to the want something else, and now this is just a tool to get the want, then the motivation can drop of this, unless that is very strong. So I guess in the bottom line is just to be true to ourselves, and to have sort of a big to gravitate towards things that we love, and do as much of that as we can. And yeah, sure, turn it into it'd be great if we could all turn those into our livelihoods and so on too, just like Keith Richards did. Um, you know, because then we can spend even more time with it. We can even be more motivated with it, and you know, grow it bigger for ourselves, and just basically be able to spend more time with it if we make it into our livelihood. Because otherwise, we're still now, if we don't make it into our livelihood, we're going to a livelihood that isn't our thing, maybe, so that we could do the things that we love. So that kind of splits things up. If we could find a way to work within those motivating activities, and make them our livelihoods, and somehow that'd be optimal, I think. So motivation, yeah, it's important. A lot could be said about it. A lot more could be said about it, I'm sure. I'm just sharing a few ideas on improving the quality of our lives through motivation. And I think it's really important that we identify what motivates us, what it is that we feel moved to do in activities. And surely when we spend more time on that, that helps to improve the quality of our life experience. Great chatting again. Talk again soon.